guys, this is HD.
And this is Pain User.
And we're back, man. We're back for game number 2 between ROOTdrewbie and ROOTMinigun. And once again, this is an inter-clan war. This is for the IGN Pro League Game 2. No doubt if you guys are watching this, you guys are currently on IGN.com/IPL. And if you guys want to see the first games, also on the website. But you guys can also check out our YouTube channels, youtube.com/stratbunker. Almost misspelled that. And youtube.com/HD StarCraft.
Indeed. Game 1 going to Minigun very quickly, and very quickly. Almost no challenge there. And really, what I think it came down to was the fact that Minigun did a very safe 3-gate build. I think if he had maybe tried to do like a 1-gate expand or like a 1-gate robo, I think Drewbie would have had an opportunity to win. But
absolutely,
3-gate is just so safe. You can hold off any kind of all-in easily.
Not to mention he scouted the mass Congo line of SCVs coming for him, and he realized I need to get warp gate
at ground 0 before the SCVs even left the main. He knew it was coming, so he had more than ample time to prepare for that. So I don't think Drewbie is going to try and cheese again. Actually, definitely not, especially on Shattered Temple.
Yeah, this is a pretty wide open map for players. Much more difficult to get off any kind of a cheese because there's, of course, 3 spawn points rather than 1 spawn point where your opponent can spawn at. And on top of that, if I were Minigun, I'd be pretty darn pissed if Drewbie tried to cheese me 2 times in a row. These guys are clanmates, man. I mean, 1 time's cool. I don't think we're going to see a second one. There's already a barracks being built inside the main. And we'll just have to keep our eye on the second barracks. But hey, already gas going down, so I think we should be seeing a pretty standard game.
Yeah, absolutely. Gas going down. Looks like Drewbie might be doing some kind of a Marauder fast expand. Might lose his SCV building the barracks, pulling that off the racks and repairing it, but still Drewbie losing a lot of mining time right now, forced to use 3 SCVs to deal with that single probe, and that's always really annoying, especially little tiny thing. Yeah, see, exactly. Drewbie already saying you're really asking for it. Little things like that. Don't let Drewbie's sarcasm fool you. Little things like that in the early game really piss you off and they bother you. And it just sets up the tone for the rest of the game.
And here we go. Drewbie is going to actually have his gas stolen here, and last time we saw this, it kind of, we talked about this before, and this really kind of forces, like Pain User has said, the Terran player into that 1 racks fast expo build. You cannot get that second gas going early on for any kind of a tech route. So this really puts the Protoss player in a comfortable spot. He's actually going to come in here with this probe again, and one thing that would be pretty nasty is if he gets another assimilator up once this thing goes down, but you know, it's going to be a long time.
That's another thing that the assimilator allows for you to do. It keeps the Marines preoccupied killing the assimilator, and you can continue to dart in and out with your probe and check for the add-on on the racks.
Absolutely. So
you can see whether it's a reactor or if it's a tech lab, and it looks like Drewbie's actually getting a reactor. So we're probably either going to see a reactor expand or some kind of marine tank opening from Drewbie, and he's already dropped that command center. I don't know if I agree with the positioning of that command center. He did want to keep it outside of the range of the assimilator, but I think that he opened himself up to get that command center scouted very easily by a late probe scout.
Yeah, absolutely. That command center is kind of right there in your face. If Minigun decides to scout, and most likely he will. I mean, we already saw his excellent scouting, which pretty much saved him the game in game number 1 and allowed him to win.
Absolutely.
We have a little merry-go-round right now going on for the SCV. SCV, though, unfortunately, once the Stalker comes out, that spells disaster for scouting, but Minigun actually allows his gateways to be scouted. So this is the one thing about Protoss we talk about all the time, Pain User, is that initial scout, when it dies to the Stalker, the Terran player kind of plays in the dark, but this time around he sees the 2 gateways going up.
Yeah, so he knows it's going to be a 3-gate expo, possibly with a little bit of pressure. It looks like we've already got a proxy pylon going down outside of mid.
You know, maybe it's a 4-gate? Could he throw down a potential 4th gate and just go balls out?
He could, indeed. But I don't think that would be the wisest choice, especially since Drewbie is getting tanks and he's getting that bunker.
Here we go.
And he already has the reactor. Looks like he's going to just poke in with this Stalker and Zealot and see if he can get anything done. But he's not warping in units at the proxy pylon. So I think he's just going to keep those units outside Drewbie's base, keep him contained, figure out what he's up to, and drop a Nexus. And it looks like that is exactly what he's doing. Able to get that Nexus up just before the SCV is able to block him.
But at least he saw the Nexus going up.
Yeah, he does know the Nexus is going up. But, I mean, at this point in the game, I think both players... Oh, and it looks like he's going to lose that scouting SCV without microing it. Drewbie preoccupied doing something else. But I'm pretty sure both players are pretty confident in what the other guy is doing at this point. They both know that they're going for a fast expand. And I don't think anybody necessarily has the upper hand right now. We're just going to have to see how this plays out into the mid-game. But I think Drewbie is going to be very safe in his expansion. Tank Tank Marine expanding is very, very safe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once the tanks have siege mode, they can slowly push this contain away.
Looks like
Drewbie's getting a little... Oh, no! He gets his siege tank force fielded outside of the ramp. That is huge.
Yeah, that sucks. Siege tank is a... Drewbie saying WTF, and really... There was ooh, we got a third command center going up already from Drewbie.
I really like that, man. He knows once he loses that tank, he's super far behind. So why not go for eco cheese?
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. But one thing is that when you Marine tank expand, it's very difficult to cover a third. Tanks are super immobile, and it's going to make it really difficult for Drewbie to cover his third. So if Minigun does catch wind of this, if he does get an observer in, he does get some Marines force fielded at the bottom of the ramp. However, that tank is doing work right now, getting the best of that situation, trading, I don't know, trading 3 Marines for a Zealot right there. And it looks like he's going to get a Stalker and maybe a Sentry. No, doesn't get that Sentry, but Minigun is forced to pull out of the natural, and I really like using the siege tank to secure the low ground and expand. Otherwise, when you're purely going bio, you can get contained up until the point that you either have medevacs or if you have ghosts to EMP, because sentries can just contain you forever. So the siege expand ensures that you will be able to get down your ramp earlier, and it looks like Drewbie's just going straight for the third.
Yeah, this kind of siege tank expand is really reminiscent of the old days of Brood War. Not exactly the same build, because back then you would go barracks, factory, then command center. This time around, Drewbie goes barracks, command center, then factory. But really, siege tank expanding, pain user set it all, very safe, very standard. It's unfortunate that Drewbie lost that early tank, but he's going to make up for it by going for this third expansion extremely early. And right now, his opponent Minigun doesn't have a third Nexus up. He's only got 2. And the one thing the Minigun does have, though, is a huge harvester count advantage. So it's tough to tell. I think right now Minigun has a great advantage, but if this game continues to play out with neither player attacking, Drewbie's going to start to rack up a huge economy with 3 orbital commands.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Minigun spending a lot of that chrono boost on probes, skyrocketing. He's already at 50 probes. And he does have that robotics bay. He does have the first Colossus on the way, so teching straight into Colossus. And I don't think this is necessarily a bad move by Minigun.
Did you see the obs?
He definitely knows it's there, but he might not have a scan. He wouldn't have put his Marines there otherwise. He knows it's there, but probably not enough energy to scan.
He's about to get the energy.
Just about to have energy.
And the observer moves away.
Minigun realizing. So I don't think Minigun knows yet about the third, but as soon as he finds out, ooh, and I love this from Minigun. He has pylons on the left and right side of the map in perfect positioning.
Spotting the drops.
If I was going to send a medevac, it would probably cross one of those 3 pylon locations. So I mean, look to see those being put to use later on in the game.
Yeah, when you go for drop play, and it looks like Drewbie will, well, he has a tech lab on this, so we'll see what he tries to produce out of the starport. But when you go for drop play and you try to drop the Protoss player, the best route, ladies and gentlemen, is really just going around the sides of the map, away from the forces, and you're going to cross these pylons. It's going to be pretty brutal. And look at this, lots of meals going down. This is what I'm talking about. Drewbie, as the game progresses, he's going to have that third orbital. His economy is going to catch up very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we take a look at Drewbie's base real quick, it looks like he's tech patterns are all over the place. He has a tech lab starport. He's pumping mech units. He's getting the pre-igniter upgrade. He's getting weapons 1 and armor 1 and stim for his bio. So it looks like Drewbie is going for a bio and mech composition.
I almost feel like he can afford it because he has 6 gases. But hey, now the OBS has spotted it. So it's going to be up to Minigun what his response will be to deal with this early third. It looks like he will be grabbing his third to play some catch-up, and here we go. The drops are crossing the pylon. Did Minigun notice? It doesn't look like... Yeah, he does. He's mobilizing his forces. I don't know.
I think he knows.
These Hellions can't do any damage, though, because really there aren't any probes there.
Yeah, I think that's why Minigun didn't send his troops over there. He knows it's not a big threat right now.
Yeah.
And he's keeping his units near the natural just to make sure he's safe from any kind of Hellion run-by or anything like that. Does have 2 Stalkers at the third.
Looking for those Hellions.
And find them he will. He's going to be able to take out both those Hellions. They're not going to do any damage. And Drewbie trying to run some Hellions into the main here, but the Colossus coming up the cliff and immediately taking out those Hellions, basically nullifying that entire drop. Took 0 damage.
Absolutely. He just basically slapped the ball right away from the hoop and said, you're not scoring a point on me today. And look at this. Drewbie here is getting a ton of factories and barracks. And he has a Raven out on the field already. So this is such a strange like you said, Penny, there's such a strange branch of units to go with. Minigun has gone with Robo and Colossus here. He's got a very, very powerful army on the ground.
Yeah.
And wow, he's going to go for the backdoor rocks, man.
Yeah.
And oh, Drewbie, this is the thing about tanks. If you go for this third, you have to unsiege to bring them over here, and they're so much slower than Colossus. Protoss is going to abuse these tanks in mobility all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that's so hard about playing mech against Protoss. But the one thing that's nice about what Drewbie's doing is he's using the mech as a backbone, and he is going to have that bio. And Drewbie, omniscient, all over it. He had the supply depot there, and he must have checked it and seen the rocks going down and just preemptively lifts his third, so he's not going to take any damage there, and he's kiting his Vikings very well. He's got to keep those alive, though. He does not want to lose those Vikings. They're going to be so important later on in the big battle. But Drewbie also getting a ghost, so the strength of Drewbie's army is going to be so powerful when he finally decides to push. He has so many tanks.
He has so many tanks, and he has Ravens, Vikings. He has a huge composition of units. I would love to see him create the orchestrate the beauty of this army. And if he can get everything right, he can do some serious damage to that Protoss spawn. It looks like he's going to come around to do some flamethrower damage here, but unfortunately runs into an Immortal, and that's going to pretty much push these guys away.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with what you said more. If he orchestrates the big fight well and uses all of these abilities to his advantage, if he gets a good EMP, gets a good PDD,
right?
Uses his Vikings well, the one thing that he has to be really careful of is protecting those siege tanks, and that I lose all the time when I'm going mech or biomech against Protoss. When if you are pushing and you're not watching your army 100%, you have to just absolutely hawk your push, and if he catches you with your pants down, if he catches you unsieged, it's curtains 100%. There's nothing you can do.
And the other thing here too is he needs to get his expansion up quickly, because right now he's playing against a potential 4-base Protoss, and he's only got 2 bases mining right now. And it looks like Minigun here gonna come to hit the main, and he's abusing the Colossus maximum range, taking out the add-ons. This is so annoying as a Terran player. Rebuilding those add-ons takes time. It means that your factory and your barracks cannot produce more units. That was a nice little hit and run by Minigun, and he didn't lose a single unit before that, and he cost the Terran player building time.
Yeah, not only does it cost you building time, it costs you so many actions to deal with something like that. You have to unsiege a bunch of your tanks, you have to rotate your Vikings, you have to possibly lift buildings, and really all the Protoss player has to do is right-click his Colossus up your cliff and attack some stuff. So
yeah. And he did some great damage. Oh, look at that! I thought for sure those were Stalkers warping in. I thought Minigun saw the dropship and he was warping in Stalkers to deal with it, but no, he did not. But I'm sure he saw the dropship, as he's got some Zealots now kind of going through the backside. Just check for that orbital again, but it's not there. It has left the building, has relocated to the gold. Not a bad relocation. More minerals here. And I'm looking for this dropship, man. I'm sure you are too, Pain User. If these 3 Hellions can do some serious damage, it will certainly be tough, because Protoss can warp in Stalkers at any point.
Yeah, I think Minigun's going to be all over it. He had to have seen, when he was warping in those Zealots, he had to have seen that medevac flying overhead. So also Minigun, ooh, he has cannons in position at his mineral lines.
Beautiful position on the cannon.
Yeah, I don't think these Hellions are going to be able to do that much damage at all. And right now, both players approaching maxed. Drewbie, I think he has his tanks spread a little bit too thin right now. When you're going up against Colossus, it's really nice to have those tanks in a very close position so that they can all shoot the Colossus at the same time. And it looks like Drewbie losing a Viking right there, almost losing another, but being very patient. And he's going to try and get some pod shots here with his tanks. Going to be able to hit a couple of the Zealots, but again, Minigun just skating right out of there, taking no damage and forcing Drewbie to be on his back foot.
Right.
So I think Drewbie is going to have to push here in a second. He's really losing his timing window right now. Both players amassing a ton of resources, and it looks like they're both just very hesitant to engage right now.
And why wouldn't they be? I mean, one false move when this battle occurs, and certainly it will, can cost a players a game, and it's really going to come down to the Terran. We've talked about this before, orchestrating his units perfectly. He has to hit everything perfectly, and Minigun's going to put the pressure on Drewbie right here by blinking into the main, picking off all these buildings, forcing all of these units to unsiege, unmobilize, and reposition themselves. And as soon as those tanks get here, Minigun will just walk away, except for these 2 Stalkers. They decide to take the long route, so they're going to die. And that was beautiful by the Protoss player. Why not walk up, pick off buildings, run away? Tanks take forever to unsiege, mobilize, get over to the main, and now we have a new corridor to attack right here. So the Terran really has a lot of different places where he has to cover.
Yeah, and thankfully he has those sensor towers, and that's going to help him out a lot. But Minigun doing a great job abusing the immobility of tanks, and this is really how you have to play against a Terran army with a tank backbone like this. And it looks like DrewbieE pushing across the middle of the map right now. I think he might be trying to cut Minigun off, and he's going to be able to pick off a few Colossus here with his Vikings. Minigun pulling back, and it looks like we are going to have a pretty big engagement here in a second.
Yeah, he's trying to pick off these Colossus right here, but the Stalker's blinking to protect, and a beautiful PDD to save what Vikings he could. Now the Raven does not have energy to PDD for a minute or so, but it will have enough energy very soon, and man, I just love this play. It looks like DrewbieE is going to continue his push forward here. He knows he needs to do some damage, but he has to siege up his tanks, Pain User. If he doesn't siege up his tanks, he's going to take some serious damage, EMPing the Protoss ball, and summoning mules to distract Minigun. This is going all out crazy. DrewbieE trying to orchestrate this army like we were talking about before, and I think he may have enough to deal with this.
I think he waited way too long to siege his tanks. I think Minigun got the best of that battle. He's forced to land his Vikings now. These Vikings are not going to do anything. They're just going to get eaten up like Swiss cheese. Not able to kill that last Colossus. Going to lift off those Vikings. Does pick off that Colossus, but loses all of his tanks.
His entire army just got absolutely obliterated, man.
Yeah, that was terrible for DrewbieE. He needed to absolutely crush that first battle and then push, and Minigun is going to be able to reinforce so much faster. He has all those gateways already skyrocketing back to 150 supply. DrewbieE down at 125, and DrewbieE sitting very low on gas. Minigun starting a trust fund right now. Has enough resources to do virtually anything he wants to do. He could go carriers right now. Mothership. He could add more nexuses.
He could start his own bank and loan DrewbieE some money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just do what China does to the United States, man. He could start his own little hedge fund right here, and he's rich, man. He's got so much money.
Yeah. He's
honestly,
spending it though. He's doing a good job spending it.
He could trade right now with the Terran and then just rebuild his whole army.
And it looks like that's exactly what he's gonna do. And I don't know that DrewbieE can hold this off. There are so many charge lots right now, and it looks like Minigun is gonna commit to this, and DrewbieE just does not have enough to hold this off. There is no way. He's gonna lose all of this bio, especially once these Colossus start shooting at the bio.
3 tanks coming in to reinforce, so these tanks could provide the necessary artillery that DrewbieE needs, but more Colossus and Zealots coming from the other side, squeezing the Terran army from all directions and forcing them right back into the natural where they came from. And these Colossus, man, they are just gonna push this Terran army all the way back to the Stone Age.
And I think losing those Vikings that he had to land in the end of that main engagement was just so costly for him.
I didn't expect to see that many charge lots, man. That was really insane.
Charge lots are super good, and he had so many gateways, and he had so much money in the bank. He was able to just resupply that much faster, and he probably was just chrono boosting all those gateways just on repeat.
I mean, when you have that much minerals, dump them into charge lots. They're cheap, they're effective, they're great, and I think Minigun wins the losers round of 2, which means DrewbieE is knocked out of the IPL, and Minigun still has a fighting chance in the losers bracket.
Indeed. So Minigun getting the best of the Root clan war and able to take that series. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more.
Yeah, HD and Pain User signing out.